I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from. My son looked me in the eye and said, Mom, just don't come to the wedding. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't look angry. He just stood in my kitchen, wouldn't sit down, and asked me to disappear from the most important day of his life. I smiled the way mothers do when they don't want their children to see the hurt, reached for his hand and whispered, "Okay, sweetheart." He looked relieved. That hurt more than anything else. What he didn't know was that his name wasn't on a single wedding contract. Mine was. And when there were no flowers, no cake, and 200 confused guests standing in an empty hall, I was exactly where he told me to be. Nowhere. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon in March. I was restocking shelves at Morrison's grocery, my hands dusty with flour from the baking aisle, when my phone buzzed in my apron pocket. Avery's name lit up the screen. My heart did that little jump. It always does when my son calls. Even at 62, even after raising him alone for 30 years, that flutter of joy never goes away. Mom, his voice sounded different, higher excited. Sweetheart, hi, is everything okay? Better than okay. He laughed that nervous laugh he's had since he was a boy. I'm engaged. I asked Tessa and marry me, and she said yes. I stood there in aisle 7 between the pasta and the rice and felt my eyes filled with tears. The good kind. Oh, Avery. Oh, honey, that's wonderful. I'm so happy for you. Thanks, Mom. I knew you would be. There was a pause. We're thinking maybe a fall wedding, October, probably. October is beautiful. I said, picturing my son in a tuxedo, picturing myself in the mother of the groom dress I'd been secretly imagining for years. Have you set a date yet? Not yet. Tessa's family is handling most of the planning. Her dad, Marcus Morrison, he's pretty insistent about that. Morrison. The name registered somewhere in the back of my mind. Morrison liked the grocery store. Avery laughed again, but this time it sounded strained. No relation. Different Morrison family. Tessa's dad is in real estate. Big developments, that kind of thing. That sounds impressive. Yeah, it is. Another pause. Listen, Mom, I've got to run. I just wanted to tell you the news first. I'm honored. I love you, sweetheart. Love you too. He hung up before I could ask about Tessa, about the proposal, about any of the 1,000 questions bubbling up inside me. But that was okay. He was excited. He was happy. My boy was getting married. I called my sister June the moment my shift ended. She answered on the second ring, her voice bright with that particular energy she always has. Charlotte, I was just thinking about you. Avery's engaged. What, oh my God, to that girl, he's been seeing Tessa. Yes, they're planning an October wedding. You must be over the moon. June said your baby boy getting married. I remember when you were changing his diapers in that tiny apartment, and now look at him. I smiled, unlocking my car in the grocery store parking lot. The afternoon sun felt warm on my face. I know I can hardly believe it. When are you meeting her family? Have you talked about the wedding plans yet? Not yet. He just called an hour ago. I'm sure we'll talk more this weekend. We talked for another 20 minutes, June, asking questions I didn't have answers to yet. When we hung up, I drove home through the familiar streets of my neighborhood, past the elementary school where Avery used to play, past the library where we spent every Saturday morning when he was small. Home was the same 2-bedroom house I'd bought 28 years ago when Avery was 4, and his father had been gone for a year. The mortgage was paid off now, but the house still showed its age. The porch steps creaked. The kitchen window stuck every winter. The water heater made strange noises in the middle of the night. But it was mine. And more importantly, it was where I'd raised my son. I made myself a cup of tea and sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Avery had done his homework, where we'd eaten dinner together every night, where I'd helped him fill out college applications. On the wall hung a dozen framed photos. Avery's school pictures from kindergarten through high school graduation. Avery in his soccer uniform. Avery had his college graduation 3 years ago. My phone buzzed. A text from Avery. "Thanks for being so supportive. Mom, it means a lot." I texted back. "Always, sweetheart. Can't wait to meet Tessa properly and talk about the wedding." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. "We've got it covered, Mom. Don't worry about anything." I stared at that message for a long time. Don't worry about anything. It was a strange thing to say to the mother of the groom, but maybe he just meant I didn't need to stress. Maybe he was trying to be considerate. I pushed the uneasy feeling away and went to bed early that night, already dreaming about October. Mr. Lawson was fixing his mailbox when I got home from my evening shift 3 days later. He was 74, a retired postal worker who'd lived next door since before Avery was born. He'd helped me carry furniture when we moved in, had taught Avery to ride a bike, had cleared my driveway every time it snowed. "Charlotte," he waved as I pulled into my driveway. "I heard the good news about Avery. He told you I grabbed my purse and walked over. Ran into him at the hardware store yesterday, said he's marrying a lovely girl." Mr. Lawson's weathered face creased into a smile. "You must be proud." "I am. Very proud. You did a good job with that boy. Raising him alone like you did, working 2 jobs. He shook his head admiringly. "Not many mothers would have managed it so well. I just did what needed to be done. That's what makes you special, Charlotte. You never complained. You just loved that boy and did your best." He patted my shoulder. "He's lucky to have you." Those words stayed with me as I walked into my empty house. He's lucky to have you. I believed that. I'd given Avery everything I had. Not money, there was never much of that. But time, attention, love. The kind of steady, unconditional love that doesn't waver when things get hard. His father had left when the bills piled up and the baby wouldn't stop crying. But I'd stayed. I'd always stayed. The first Sunday in Avery led rode to Avery's apartment for our usual dinner. We'd been doing Sunday dinners since he graduated college, my way of maintaining our connection even as his life got busier. I brought a homemade lasagna, his favorite still warm in its dish. Avery answered the door in jeans and a polo shirt I didn't recognize. Expensive looking. "Hey, Mom." "Hi, sweetheart." I held up the lasagna. "I made extra, so you'll have left over." "Thanks, come in." The apartment looked different, cleaner. There were new throw pillows on the couch, a fancy coffee table book about architectural design, fresh flowers and a vase on the kitchen counter, a woman's touch. Is Tessa here? She's at her parents' place. Sunday dinner with them. Avery took the lasagna and put it in the oven to keep warm. But she'll be here in about an hour. She wants to meet you properly. I'd love that. I sat on the couch, careful not to disturb the artfully arranged pillows. "So have you two set a date yet?" October 26th. Avery poured himself a glass of water, didn't offer me one. It's a Saturday. The venue had one opening left this year. October 26th, that's perfect. The leaves will be beautiful. I pulled out my phone to make a note. What venue? Riverside Manor. It's about an hour north of here. Riverside Manor. I'd driven past it once years ago. A massive estate with white columns and sprawling gardens. The kind of place that probably cost more per hour than I made in a month. That sounds lovely. Have you thought about what kind of ceremony you want? What about Mom Avery sat down across from me, not next to me? Tessa's family is handling most of the planning. Her dad really wants to do this for her, for us. Of course, but I'd love to help too. Maybe with the flowers, or I could... We've got it covered. He said it gently, but there was a finality to it. Marcus has a wedding planner already. Everything's being taken care of. Oh, I folded my hands in my lap. Well, at least let me contribute financially. I've been saving up. I have about $3,000 that Mom know. Avery looked uncomfortable. You don't need to do that, seriously. Keep your money. But I want to help. I'm your mother. I know. And I appreciate it. But this is handled. He stood up, checked his phone. Tessa should be here soon. Let me just make sure the place is ready. He busied himself straightening things that were already straight, checking his reflection in the mirror by the door. I sat on his couch and felt for the first time in my son's life like I was in the way. Tessa Morrison arrived at 6:15 carrying a bottle of wine that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. She was 28 tall and slim with honey blonde hair that fell in perfect waves past her shoulders. Her sundress was simple but elegant designer without being flashy. She wore small diamond studs in her ears and a thin gold bracelet that caught the light when she moved. Mrs. Davies. She set the wine down and hugged me a brief, careful hug that felt practiced. It's so wonderful to finally meet you properly. Please call me Charlotte. I smiled, wanting her to feel comfortable, and congratulations. Avery is so happy. We both are. She glanced at Avery, who was opening the wine. He's told me so much about you. All good things, I hope. Of course, she sat down in the chair across from me, crossed her legs at the ankle. He said you work at Morrison's Grocery. Yes, I've been there for about 15 years now, morning shifts mostly. That's the one on Elm Street. That's right. I drive past there sometimes. Tessa accepted a glass of wine from Avery. It seems like a nice little store. Nice little store. The words were polite, but there was something in her tone. Not quite dismissive, but close. The way someone might compliment a child's drawing. It pays the bills, I said lightly. And I work evenings cleaning offices downtown keeps me busy. 2 jobs, Tessa sifter wine. That must be exhausting. You do what you need to do. Avery carried the lasagna to the table. Dinner's ready. We ate and I asked Tessa questions about herself. She'd gone to a private college in New England, majored in marketing, now worked for her father's real estate company doing social media and client relations. She talked about luxury properties and high-end developments, about yacht clubs and golf courses, about clients who flew in from New York and California. I listened and smiled and asked follow-up questions, even though I understood maybe half of what she was talking about. Her world was so different from mine. Not better or worse, just different. So I said, when there was a low, tell me about the wedding plans. Every said, you're working with a planner. Yes, Katie Rodriguez. She's phenomenal. Tessa S. face lit up. She's done all the major weddings in our area. She's the one who got us the Riverside Manor booking. It was completely booked for the year, but she has connections. That's wonderful. And have you chosen colors yet, a theme? Burgundy and gold, elegant fall aesthetic. We're having the ceremony in the gardens at 4 o'clock, then cocktail hour in the solarium, and dinner in the grand ballroom. She pulled out her phone, showed me photos. This is the inspiration board Katie put together. The images were stunning. Rich colors, elaborate centerpieces, chandeliers dripping with crystals. It looked like something from a magazine. It's beautiful, I said honestly. You have wonderful taste. Thank you. Tessa put her phone away. My dad really wants this to be special. He's his only daughter, so he's going all out. How many guests are you expecting? 200, maybe 210. It's hard to narrow down the list when you have a large family and extensive business connections. 200 guests. I thought about my side of the family, June and her husband, 2 cousins I hadn't seen in years, Mr. Lawson, maybe 5 people from work. That was it. Will you need help with anything I asked? Addressing invitations, making favors. I'd love to be involved however I can. Tessa and Avery exchanged a glance. It was quick, but I saw it. Actually, Tessa said carefully, Katie is handling all of that. She has a whole team, but we appreciate the offer. Of course. Well, if you think of anything at all, we'll let you know. Avery stood up, started clearing plates. Who wants coffee? The rest of the evening passed pleasantly enough. Tessa was polite, attentive, laughing at my stories about Avery as a child. But there was a distance there, a careful politeness that never quite warmed into genuine connection. When I left at 9, hugging Avery goodbye, I told myself it was fine. Tessa was young. She probably felt awkward getting to know her future mother-in-law. These things took time. But driving home through the dark streets, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd been interviewed rather than welcomed. Like I was someone they needed to manage rather than someone they wanted to include. The weeks passed, and my phone calls were, Avery grew shorter. He was busy with work, he said. Busy with wedding planning, busy with Tessa's family events. Always busy. When I called to ask about the dress code for the wedding, he took 3 days to call back. Just whatever you're comfortable in, Mom. But is it formal, semi-formal? I want to make sure I'm dressed appropriately. It's formal, but don't worry about it too much. Just get something nice. Should I coordinate with the wedding colors? I don't want to clash in the photos. I'm sure whatever you pick will be fine. Fine. Everything was fine. I was fine. My dress would be fine. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Don't be involved. I went to Macy's on my day off and found a navy blue dress on the clearance rack. It was simple, but elegant, appropriate for a formal wedding. I bought matching shoes in a small clutch purse. The total came to $97, which felt like a lot, but seemed necessary. I took a photo and texted it to Avery. What do you think, will this work for the wedding? He responded 6 hours later. Looks good. 2 words. Looks good. I hung the dress in my closet and tried not to feel hurt. June called me on a Saturday morning in late May. I was wading the small garden in my front yard, my hands dirty, my knees aching from kneeling on the hard ground. Hey sis, how was the engagement party? I sat back on my heels. What engagement party for Avery and Tessa last night? Didn't you? Her voice trailed off. Charlotte, please tell me you were there. My stomach dropped. I didn't know there was a party. Oh, honey. June's voice filled with sympathy. I saw photos on Facebook. Linda Morrison posted them. She's friends with someone I know from church. Can you send me the link? Are you sure you want to see them? Send it June. The photos appeared in my messages 30 seconds later. I sat right there in my garden dirt under my fingernails and scrolled through 43 pictures of my son's engagement party that I hadn't been invited to. Riverside Manor again. The same venue as the wedding. Tessa in a white cocktail dress, Avery in a suit I'd never seen. Marcus Morrison, a tall man with silver hair and an expensive watch, his arm around his daughter. A woman who must have been Tessa's mother, elegant in pearls. Tables decorated with white and gold champagne flutes, a 3-tiered cake. Friends, colleagues, Tessa's extended family, Avery's college roommate. People I'd never met celebrating my son's engagement, and not one photo included me. I scrolled back through looking for my face in the background. Maybe I'd been there and didn't remember. Maybe I'd been sick. But no, I remembered last night clearly. I'd worked my evening shift cleaning offices, come home eating a sandwich, and watched a nature documentary before bed. My hands were shaking. I set the phone down in the grass and stared at my little house, at the garden I'd been tending, at the normal Saturday morning that had just been shattered. June called back. Charlotte, I'm here. Did he really not tell you? He really didn't. That son of a June caught herself. I'm coming over. No, it's okay. I'm fine. You're not fine. Nobody would be fine. I'm coming over. She arrived 40 minutes later with coffee and muffins from the bakery downtown. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd helped Avery with his homework for 13 years, and I tried to make sense of it. Maybe it was a last-minute thing. I said not believing it. Maybe he tried to call and I missed it. Charlotte June took my hand. Look at those photos. That was planned for weeks. The decorations alone took time. Maybe he thought I was working. Did you tell him you were working? No, he didn't ask. June's jaw tightened. What's going on with him? This isn't like Avery. I don't know. I wrapped my hands around my coffee mug, needing the warmth. He's been distant since the engagement. Calls are shorter. He doesn't ask me to come over anymore. And now this. You need to talk to him. And say what? Why didn't you invite your mother to your engagement party? He'll just say he forgot or that it slipped his mind, or then he'll lie to your face. June finished. And at least you'll know where you stand. But I didn't call Avery that day. Or the next. Because I was afraid of exactly what June said. I was afraid he would lie to me and I would know for certain that something had changed between us. That I had somehow become someone to be managed rather than included. Instead, I put my phone away and spent the weekend cleaning my house, scrubbing grout, and organizing closets, keeping my hands busy so my mind wouldn't spiral. On Monday morning, my phone rang. Avery. Hey, Mom. Hi, sweetheart. Sorry I haven't called. Things have been crazy with the wedding planning, I'm sure. I took a breath. June mentioned she saw photos from an engagement party. Silence. Long enough that I thought the call had dropped. Avery. Yeah, we had a little gathering at Riverside Manor. Just close family and a few friends. I didn't know about it. Didn't I tell you? His voice was too casual, too light. I could have sworn I mentioned it. It was really last minute. Tess's mom put it together pretty quickly. How last minute June said there were decorations and a cake. Just a week or two of planning. You know how Tess's family is. They can pull things together fast when they want to. A week or two. Plenty of time to call me. Plenty of time to send a text. Plenty of time to remember that your mother might want to be there. I would have liked to come, I said quietly. I know. I'm sorry, Mom. It was just a small thing. Nothing big. Nothing big. 43 photos. 200 people. A 3-tiered cake. Okay, I say. I said because what else could I say? Listen, I've got to run. Meeting in 5. Love you. He hung up before I could respond. I sat in my car in this grocery store parking lot 10 minutes before my shift started and cried. Not loud, dramatic sobs, just quiet tears that slipped down my face while I gripped the steering wheel and wondered when I had become someone my son felt comfortable lying to. 2 weeks later, Mr. Lawson caught me checking the mail on a Thursday afternoon. Charlotte, good to see you. He walked over, moving slowly. His arthritis was worse this year. How are you holding up? I'm fine, thanks. How's your back? Oh, good days and bad days. He smiled. Then his expression shifted to something more concerned. I'm glad I ran into you. I wanted to ask how you're feeling. Feeling. Fine. Every told me you haven't been well. That's why you haven't been around for the wedding planning. I just wanted to check on you. The mail slipped from my hand. Envol scattered across the sidewalk. He said what Mr. Lawson bent down slowly to help me gather them. He stopped by last weekend, said you'd been under the weather, nothing serious, but that you needed rest. He handed me my water bill and a credit card offer. I told him if you needed anything at all to let me know. You've been a good neighbor all these years. I'm not sick. "You're not." He looked confused, but Avery said, "I'm perfectly healthy." I clutched the mail to my chest. "I work 40 hours a week, 2 jobs. I'm not sick." "Oh?" Mr. Lawson's face creased with concern. "I must have misunderstood." "You didn't misunderstand." He lied. The words hung in the air between us. Mr. Lawson didn't know what to say. Neither did I. "I should go," I said. "Thank you for caring enough to ask." I walked back to my house, closed the door, and stood in my living room surrounded by photos of my son. The boy I'd raised. The boy who'd never lied to me, not about anything important. The boy who was now telling our neighbors I was sick so he had an excuse for why I wasn't involved in his wedding. My phone was in my hand before I consciously decided to call him. "Mom, what's up? I just talked to Mr. Lawson." Pause. "Okay." He said, "You told him I've been sick, that I'm not involved in the wedding planning because I'm not feeling well." "I didn't. I didn't say you were sick exactly." "What did you say exactly?" I told him you'd been tired, that you needed rest. I didn't want him bothering you about wedding stuff." "Why would Mr. Lawson bother me about your wedding?" "He wouldn't. I just meant every side. Look, I didn't mean anything by it. I was just trying to deflect questions. Questions about why you're not more involved, about why you haven't met Tessa's family yet. People ask Mom and I don't know what to tell them. You could tell them the truth, that I've offered to help and been told everything's handled. It's more complicated than that, then explain it to me. Silence, long and heavy. I can't right now. Avery finally said, "I'm at work." "When can you explain?" "I don't know. Soon, I promise we'll talk soon." "Avery, I've got to go. Love you." The call ended. I stared at my phone at my son's contact photo, him at his college graduation, smiling his arm around me, and felt something crack inside my chest. He was lying to me. About small things, maybe, but lies nonetheless. And somewhere beneath the hurt, a darker thought was forming. If he was lying about small things, what else was he lying about? In early June called me after her Wednesday evening service at church. "I need to tell you something and you're not going to like it." I was folding laundry on my bed, one of my few evenings off. "What is it?" I was talking to Eleanor Winters after church. You remember her. She used to teach Sunday school when Avery was little. I remember. She asked about you, said she'd heard from someone that you were going through something difficult. June paused. Something about mental health struggles. The t-shirt I was folding slipped from my hands. What am I told her that was absolutely not true? That you're fine. But Charlotte, she heard it from someone who heard it from someone else. There are rumors going around. What kind of rumors? That you're unstable, that you're having some kind of breakdown, that Avery is worried about you. June's voice was tight with anger. Who the hell is saying these things? I sat down on my bed surrounded by half-folded laundry. I don't know. Is Avery telling people this? He told Mr. Lawson I was sick. This is more than sick, Charlotte. This is people thinking you're mentally unwell. This is serious. I know. You need to confront him today, right now, and say, "What are you telling people? I'm crazy." He'll deny it. Then at least you'll know he's lying to your face. I called Avery that night. He didn't answer. I called again an hour later. Voicemail. I texted, "We need to talk. Please call me." He called back at 10:30, right when I was getting ready for bed. "Hey, Mom, sorry. It's been a crazy day." "What's up?" People are saying things about me. About my mental health. Who's saying things? People from church, neighbors, friends of friends. I sat on the edge of my bed. "Avery, are you telling people I'm having some kind of breakdown?" No, of course not. Mom, I would never. Then where are these rumors coming from? I don't know. Maybe someone misunderstood something. You know how gossip spreads. What would they misunderstand? I don't know. His voice rose, frustrated. Maybe someone heard that you've been stressed about money or work or something and turned it into something bigger. People love drama. I'm not stressed about money. Well, you work 2 jobs. Maybe people assumed. Or maybe someone told them I was unstable. Mom, I didn't tell anyone that. I swear. He sounded sincere, almost convincing, but I remembered the way he'd looked relieved when I agreed not to come to his wedding. I remembered the engagement party I'd never been invited to. I remembered Mr. Lawson's concerned face when he asked about my health. Okay, I said, not believing him, but too tired to fight. Okay, I'm sorry people are saying things. That's not fair to you. No, it's not. I'll see you soon, all right? Maybe we can do Sunday dinner at your place this week. That would be nice. Great. I'll text you. Love you. Love you too. He didn't text me. Sunday came and went. No call, no message, no dinner. The following week, I was cleaning the offices downtown when I found something. I wasn't snooping, not really. I was emptying trash cans in one of the conference rooms when I saw a folder on the table. It was thick cream-colored with elegant gold lettering, Morrison Davies Wedding. My hand shook as I opened it. Inside were vendor contracts, payment schedules, timeline documents, seating charts. I flipped through quickly, knowing I shouldn't, but unable to stop myself. And there, on page after page, I saw my name. Primary contact, Charlotte Davies. Emergency contact, Charlotte Davies. Building contact, Charlotte Davies. Florist contract, Charlotte Davies. Bakery contract, Charlotte Davies. Venue contract, Charlotte Davies. Photography, Charlotte Davies. DJ services, Charlotte Davies. Catering, Charlotte Davies. Every single vendor had my name listed as the primary contact. Not Avery's, not Tessa's, not Marcus Morrison's, mine. I turned to the back of the folder and found a handwritten note on Riverside Manor letterhead paperclip to a blank sheet. Avery, change all contacts to Tessa's name ASAP. Make sure Mom's name isn't on anything final. We'll handle the billing transition when Dad's ready to pay. T. The note was dated April 15th, 2 weeks after the engagement was announced. I stood in that conference room, trash bag in one hand and wedding folder in the other, and understood 3 things simultaneously. 1, Avery had used my information to book every wedding vendor. 2, he'd planned to remove my name before the wedding. 3, he never wanted me involved at all. I took photos of every page with my phone hands shaking, heart pounding, trying to work quickly before someone came in. When I was done, I put the folder back exactly where I'd found it and finished cleaning the office. At home, I spread printed copies of the photos across my kitchen table and studied them. There had to be an explanation. Maybe Tessa's had put my name down temporarily because they needed someone with better credit. Maybe this was some kind of financial strategy I didn't understand, but the note was clear. Make sure Mom's name isn't on anything final. I wasn't meant to know about any of this. I was supposed to show up to the wedding in my $97 dress smile in the family photos and never know that my name had been on every contract. My phone rang June. I've been thinking about what you said. She told me about the rumors, and I did some asking around, and I think they're coming from Tessa's family, or at least that's where they started. Someone mentioned hearing at a real estate association event that Marcus Morrison's future son-in-law came from a difficult family situation, that his mother had challenges. Challenges. That's the word they used. Challenges. I looked at the contract spread across my table at my name repeated dozens of times and felt something shift inside me. Not anger, exactly. Something colder, clearer. June. I need to tell you something. I told her everything. The contracts, the note, the plan to remove my name. When I finished, she was silent for a long moment. "What are you going to do?" she finally asked. "I don't know yet. You could confront him and he'll have an excuse. He'll say it was a mistake or a misunderstanding, or that he was going to tell me." Then what? I looked at the documents again. At my name, my contact information, my email address I barely used except for bills and important things. "I'm going to find out exactly how deep this goes," I said. "And then I'm going to decide." Every showed up at my house on a Thursday evening in late June without calling first. I was making dinner, just spaghetti and jarred sauce, nothing fancy, when I heard his car in the driveway. He knocked instead of using his key. That should have been my first clue. "Hey, Mom." He stood on my porch, hands in his pockets. He didn't step inside when I opened the door. "I wasn't expecting you. Come in, I'm just making dinner. Are you hungry?" "No, I'm good." He came inside but didn't take off his jacket. Didn't sit down. Just stood in the middle of my small living room like he was visiting a stranger. "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about something." "Okay." I turned off the stove, giving him my full attention. "What's going on?" He rubbed his hands together, a nervous gesture he'd had since childhood. "It's about the wedding." My stomach tightened. "What about it?" Things have gotten really complicated with the planning. Tessa's family has very specific ideas about how they want things to go, and there are a lot of people involved, and he trailed off, not meeting my eyes, and I think it would be better if you didn't come. The words hit me like cold water. For a moment, I couldn't speak. "You don't want me at your wedding. It's not that I don't want you there, Mom. It's complicated. Complicated how my voice came out steadier than I felt. Tessa's family has expectations. They have this vision for how the wedding should be, and they're paying for everything, so we have to respect that. What does that have to do with me?" He finally looked at me. His eyes were red-rimmed like he hadn't been sleeping well. They wouldn't understand. Understand our situation, how we grew up. He gestured vaguely around my small living room. "They come from a different world, Mom. Everything is about appearances and status and connections. And I can't explain you to them in a way that makes sense. You can't explain your mother to them." "That's not what I meant." "What did you mean?" Then he sang onto my couch, his head and his hands. Marcus Morrison has these ideas about who people are. He judges everyone based on what they have, what they've accomplished, what they can do for him. And if I tell him about you, about how we lived, about your jobs, he'll think less of you. He'll think I'm not good enough for his daughter. And you think that's true, that you're not good enough. I think I need this wedding to go smoothly. I think I need to start my life with Tessa without complications. And I'm a complication. He didn't answer. That silence told me everything. I walked to the window, looked out at my small yard with its modest garden at Mr. Lawson's house next door at the neighborhood where I'd raised my son on minimum wage and determination. "What if you told them about me?" I asked quietly. "What do you mean, Tessa's family? What if you told them I haven't told them much." "Have you told them I'm alive?" "Of course I've told them you're alive. What else? That I'm sick, unstable, going through something difficult." His silence was confirmation. I turned to face him. I found the wedding folder. At the office building where I clean, I saw all the contracts. My name is on everything. His face went pale. "Mom, you used my information to book your entire wedding. Were you planning to tell me I was going to tell you?" We needed someone with good credit to hold the deposits. And Tessa and I didn't have enough history with some of the vendors. And you were going to change it all to Tessa's name before the wedding. How did you... I saw the note from Tessa telling you to make sure my name wasn't on anything final. I crossed my arms. You weren't just excluding me from the wedding. You were erasing me completely. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like I was trying to protect you? From what? From them. From their judgment. From their questions. From having to watch them look down on you. Tears were streaming down his face now. I've seen how they treat people who don't fit their world, Mom. They're polite to your face and vicious behind your back. I didn't want that for you. So instead, you made me disappear. I was trying to spare you pain. By causing me pain instead, he dropped his head into his hands. I don't know what else to do. If you come to the wedding, there will be questions. Marcus will ask about you, about your life, about why you're not more involved. And I don't have good answers that won't make him see me differently. What if you told him about me, that you live a quiet life, that we're not close, that you moved away years ago? Moved to Way Avery. I live 20 minutes from you. I've lived in this house since you were 4 years old. I know, but in their world, that's the same as being gone. I sank into my chair, suddenly exhausted. Did you tell them I was dead? No, God knows. Nothing like that. Are you sure? Because rumors have a way of growing, I'm sure. I made it sound like you weren't really part of my life, like we were estranged or something. We weren't estranged, not until you made us that way. He looked up at me, his face crumbling. I'm so sorry, Mom. I never meant for any of this to happen. I just wanted to marry Tessa without everything getting complicated. Life is complicated, sweetheart. People are complicated. You can't just edit out the parts that don't fit the story you want to tell. I know that now. But the wedding is in 4 months and everything is set. And if I try to change things now, he wiped his eyes. Please, Mom, please just let me have this. I'll make it up to you after. I promise. I looked at my son. My grown son who'd forgotten how to be brave, who'd forgotten that the woman sitting across from him had faced down harder things than judgment from rich people and made a decision. Okay? He looked up, hopeful. Okay, sweetheart. I won't come to your wedding. The relief on his face broke my heart all over again. Thank you. Thank you, Mom. You don't know what this means. I think I do. He stood awkward now that he'd gotten what he came for. I should go. Tessa's expecting me for dinner. Of course he hesitated at the door. I do love you, Mom. I hope you know that. I know. I'll call you soon. And after the wedding, things will be different. I promise we'll spend more time together. Okay. He left. I heard his car start her to pull out of the driveway, heard it disappeared on the street. Then I sat alone in my quiet house and cried. Not because I believed his promises, but because I knew with absolute certainty that my son had just chosen his new family over me. And worse, he looked relieved when I let him do it. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around me, thinking about my son's face when he asked me not to come to his wedding. The relief in his eyes when I agreed. At 3 a.m, I got up and made tea, sat at my kitchen table with the printed photos of the wedding contracts spread out in front of me. In the dim light from the stove hood, I studied every page. My name over and over, Charlotte Davies, primary contact, emergency contact, billing information. And then I noticed something I'd missed before. On the venue contract, there was a signature line at the bottom, a signature that looked like mine but wasn't quite right. The C was too looped. The Davies slanted the wrong way. Someone had forged my signature. I pulled out more contracts. The florist, the bakery, the photographer, all of them had signatures that resembled mine but weren't mine. My hands started shaking. This wasn't just using my information. This was fraud. I thought about the bank account Every and I had opened together when he was 18 heading off to college. A joint account so I could deposit money for his expenses so he could access funds if he needed them. We'd never closed it. Even after he graduated, even after he got his own accounts, that old joint account had stayed open with maybe $300 in it. Until now, I'd never thought about what else he could access with that account. At 6 in the morning, I called my bank. They opened at 8. I sat by the phone and waited, drinking cold tea, watching the sun come up over my quiet neighborhood. At 8:01, I dialed. First National Bank, this is Melissa. How can I help you? Hi, my name is Charlotte Davies. I need to check on some account activity. I think there might be unauthorized charges. I can help you with that. Can I have your account number? I gave her the number for the joint account, the one I hadn't looked at in months. He's clicking. Okay, Ms. Davies, I'm pulling up that account now. What kind of charges are you concerned about, large ones within the last few months? Anything unusual? More clicking than a pause. Ms. Davies, are you aware that there have been several significant withdrawals from this account since March? My stomach dropped. How significant? March 15th. There was a withdrawal of $2,000. April 3rd, $1 and $500. April 20th, $2,500. May sent $3,000. Mapes and stop. I pressed my hand to my chest. How much total? Since March 1st, there have been withdrawals and charges totaling $1,406. The room tilted. That's not possible. There was only $300 in that account. The account was linked to your savings account, Ms. Davies. It had overdraft protection. When the checking ran out, it pulled from your savings. My savings. The money I'd been putting away for 20 years. $5 here, $10 there, birthday checks from June tax refunds. My emergency fund, my security blanket, my retirement money. How much is left in my savings? Clicking. A longer pause. $340. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My entire savings gone. Ms. Davies, are you still there? Yes, I'm here. My voice sounded far away. Can you tell me what these charges were for, let me see. Most of them are checks written from the account, made out to various businesses. Magnolia Design, Sweet Moments, Bakery, Riverside Manor, Perfect Moments, photography, wedding vendors, every single one. I didn't write those checks. The checks were written and signed by one of the account holders. There are 2 account holders on that account. Me and my son, Avery Davies. I didn't write them, which means he did. I see. Melissa's voice became more professional, more careful. Ms. Davies, if you're reporting an authorized use of your account by a joint account holder, that's actually a complicated situation. Because he is an authorized user, technically. He stole from me. Legally, because his name is on the account, he has the right to withdraw funds. However, if you believe there was fraud or if your signature was forged on the checks, that's different. You'd need to file a police report and dispute the charges. A police report against my own son. Ms. Davies, I need to freeze the account right now and remove the link to my savings. I can help you with that. Let me just verify your identity. It took 20 minutes to freeze the account, remove the savings link, and get documentation of all the charges sent to my email. When I hung up, my hands were shaking so badly, I could barely hold the phone. $14,000. My son had taken $14,000 from me without asking, without telling me, while telling me that Tessa's family was paying for everything. I pulled up my email in my laptop, the old slow laptop I'd bought at a pawn shop 3 years ago, and opened the bank statements Melissa had sent. There they were. Check after check, all signed with a version of my signature that wasn't quite mine. He'd forged my signature, used my information, taken my life savings, and then asked me not to come to the wedding he'd bought with my money. I called June. She answered on the first ring. Charlotte, it's early. Are you okay? He took my money. What I told her, everything. The bank account, the charges, the forged signatures. When I finished, she was silent for so long I thought the call had dropped. June, I'm here. She took a shaky breath. I'm trying very hard not to say what I want to say about your son right now. Say it. He stole from you, Charlotte. He committed fraud. He took your entire savings and used it to pay for a wedding he uninvited you from. Her voice was shaking with anger. That's not just hurtful, that's criminal, I know. What are you going to do? I looked at the contracts spread across my table, at the bank statements on my laptop screen, at the photos on my walls, of a little boy who used to tell me he loved me every single night before bed. I'm going to find out exactly what else he's done, and then I'm going to decide. Over the next week, I became a detective in my own son's life. I called the wedding vendors. Not to cancel anything yet, I wasn't ready for that. Just to verify information, I started with the florist. Magnolia Designs, this is Rachel speaking. Hi, Rachel. My name is Charlotte Davies. I believe I'm listed as a contact for the Morris and Davies wedding. Oh yes, October 26th. I've been meaning to reach out to you, actually. We never received your final approval on the centerpiece modifications. My approval. Yes, you're listed as the primary contact in the financial guarantor. Any changes over $500 need your signature. Financial guarantor. I see. Can you tell me what the total cost for the flowers is? Let me pull up the contract. Okay, the original quote was $4,500, but with the upgrades, Mrs. Morrison requested last week we're now at $6,200. $6,200 for flowers. And you have a deposit from me. Yes, $2,500 received via check on April 3rd. We'll need the balance 2 weeks before the wedding. The same date is one of the withdrawals from my account. Thank you, Rachel. I'll be in touch. I called the bakery next. Sweet moments. This is David. Hi, David. This is Charlotte Davies, calling about the Morris and Davies wedding cake. Charlotte, I'm so glad you called. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about the cake topper. The custom gold leaf design tests our requested is going to add another $800 to the total. And since you're the one on the contract, I need your approval before how much is the total now, $3,800. $3,800 for cake. I called 6 more vendors. Same story every time. My name on the contract, my signature on the deposit checks. My approval needed for any changes. The total came to just over $53,000. $53,000 for a wedding I'd been uninvited from. A wedding I'd supposedly know nothing about. A wedding that Marcus Morrison had supposedly been paying for. But the story Avery had told his future father-in-law was clearly different from reality. June called me on a Friday evening, her voice tight with urgency. Charlotte, I need to come over, now. What's wrong? I'll tell you when I get there. 10 minutes. She arrived in 8, parked haphazardly in my driveway, and rushed to my door with a folder in her hands. You're not going to believe this. She sat at my kitchen table without taking off her jacket. You know my friend Patricia from church, the one who works at the real estate office? Yes, she works for Morrison Development, Marcus Morrison's company. June opened the folder. I asked her to do some discreet digging for me. Charlotte Avery has been lying about everything. She spread papers across my table, printouts from the company website, news articles, society page photos. This is from a real estate association gala in April. June pointed to a photo of Marcus Morrison in a tuxedo, surrounded by well-dressed people, holding champagne flutes. Patricia was there. She overheard him talking to some potential investors. What did he say? He was bragging about his daughter's engagement. Someone asked about Avery's family, and Marcus said. June looked at me, her eyes full of pain for me. He said the boy's mother isn't in the picture. Sad story, really. She abandoned him when he was young. His father raised him alone until he passed a few years ago. The room spun. What Avery told them you abandoned him, that his father raised him, that his father is dead. His father abandoned us. I raised him. His father is alive in Arizona somewhere last I heard. I know, but that's not the story Avery told them. June pulled out another document. And there's more. Patricia said Avery's been positioning himself as a self-made man from a tragic background. He told people he put himself through college on scholarships and loans, that he worked his way up in his company through nothing but hard work and determination. I paid for half his college. I took extra shifts to help with his expenses. I know, honey, I know June squeezed my hand, but in Avery's version of his life, you don't exist. You've been written out completely, and the father who left you both has been turned into some kind of tragic hero figure. I pulled the photos closer, staring at Marcus Morrison's face. Does Tessa know Patricia thinks Tessa believes the story Avery told her? She's been telling people about her fiancé's difficult past, how proud she is of him for overcoming it, how he's had to build a life without family support, while using my money to pay for his wedding. Exactly. June leaned back in her chair. The deposit checks, the ones he forged your signature on, those probably went through before Marcus agreed to pay for the wedding. Patricia heard that Marcus initially said Avery and Tessa should pay for their own wedding, that it would be good for them to start their marriage by building something themselves. So Avery used my money to show Marcus he was financially responsible. And once Marcus saw that Avery could handle it, he probably felt more comfortable stepping in to pay for the bigger expenses. But by then, all the contracts were already in your name. I looked at the society page photos at Marcus Morrison with his arm around his daughter at Avery, standing next to them looking proud and happy. A perfect family, no aging mother with 2 minimum wage jobs to complicate the picture. There's something else. June hesitated. Patricia said she heard Tessa mention once that there was going to be a family contribution to the wedding costs, that Avery's late father's sister, his aunt, was helping financially as a wedding gift. His late father's sister, you Charlotte. In the story, Avery told them you're not his mother, you're his dead father's sister who's helping with the wedding out of familial obligation. The pieces clicked into place, the contracts in my name, the forged signatures, the story about an aunt helping out. Avery hadn't just erased me as his mother. He'd recast me as a bit player in someone else's life story. Someone convenient for paperwork but not important enough to attend the wedding. He turned me into a dead man's sister, I said quietly. Yes, to hide the fact that I'm alive, that I'm his mother, that I raised him. Yes, I stood up and walked to the window outside. Mr. Lawson was watering his garden in the fading evening light, normal life continuing normally, while mine fell apart. What are you going to do? June asked. I turned to face her. I'm going to let him have exactly what he asked for. What do you mean he asked me not to come to the wedding? He wanted me to disappear, to not be a complication. I felt something cold and clear settled into my chest. So I'm going to give him what he wants. I'm going to disappear. Charlotte. But first, I'm going to make sure everyone knows the truth. I couldn't sleep again that night. I lay in bed thinking about Avery as a little boy. The way he used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. The way he'd hold my hand crossing the street until he was 8 years old. The way he'd call me at college homesick and scared, and I'd talk to him until he felt better. When had that boy turned into a man who could look me in the eye and lie? At 2 a.m, I got up and pulled out the box of old photos I kept in my closet. Avery's baby pictures, his first day of kindergarten, his 10th birthday party in this house. 6 kids crowded around my kitchen table eating grocery store cake, his high school graduation, college graduation. In every single photo where we were together, I was looking at him with unmistakable love, and he was looking at the camera already thinking about the next thing, the next place, the next version of himself that didn't include me. I put the photos away and opened my laptop, pulled up my bank account. $342. That was all I had left in the world. My next paycheck wouldn't come for another week. Rent was due in 3 days, $800. I had $30 in cash in my wallet. I couldn't pay my rent. My son had stolen my savings, forged my signature, and now I couldn't pay my rent. I pulled up the website for legal aid in my county, read through the information about filing police reports for fraud, for prosecuting family members for recovering stolen funds. I could do it. I could report him, get my money back, watch him face legal consequences. But he was still my son. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark kitchen, and that's when I realized something. I didn't want revenge. I wanted something else entirely. I wanted him to face the truth, not in a courtroom, not through police. I wanted him to stand in front of all those people he'd been lying to and finally tell the truth about who he was, where he came from, who had loved him, and there was only one way to make that happen. At 8 in the morning, I called work and used one of my vacation days. Then I drove to the office of Sarah Mitchell, the free legal consultation lawyer whose number I'd found online. Her office was in a strip mall between a dry cleaner and a phone repair shop. Small but clean. She was maybe 40, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. "Miss Davies, thank you for coming in. You mentioned on the phone this was about fraud." I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she sat back in her chair. "Miss Davies, I'm going to be very honest with you. This is a complicated situation." "I know." "Because your son was a joint account holder, he technically had the right to access those funds. However, the forged signatures on the vendor contracts, that's clear fraud. You could absolutely press charges. But he's your son, and family fraud cases are messy. They take time. They're emotionally devastating. And even if you win, the money might be gone by then, spent on the wedding, hard to recover. What if I don't want to press charges? Then your options are more limited. You could confront him directly. You could tell the wedding vendors what happened. You could." She paused. "Why don't you tell me what you actually want to happen here?" I thought about that. What did I want? I want him to tell the truth. I want everyone who's been lied to, his fiancé, her family, all those people at that wedding. I want them to know who he really is, who I really am. I want the lies to stop. Sarah nodded slowly. "Okay, let's talk about your rights regarding those vendor contracts." She explained that because my name was on the contracts, because my forged signature had made me the primary contact and financial guarantor, I actually had legal standing to modify your cancel services. You're listed as the responsible party. That means you have the right to make changes. Even if you're son of Jack's, even if Test his family of Jack's, legally, those contracts are with you. So I could cancel the wedding. You could. But Miss Davies, I need to warn you, if you do that, you will permanently damage your relationship with your son, possibly beyond repair. He already damaged it beyond repair when he stole from me and erased me from his life. Fair point, Sarah leaned forward. Here's what I suggest. You have power here. The question is how you want to use it. You could cancel everything and destroy the wedding. Or you could use that power as leverage to force the truth to come out. How 10. Call the vendors. Tell them the truth about the situation. Put them on notice that you're the actual contact and that you're aware of what's been happening. Don't cancel yet just to establish your authority. Then contact your son and tell him you know everything. Give him a choice. He can tell everyone the truth himself, or you'll tell them for him. And if he doesn't, then you decide how far you're willing to go. I spent that entire Saturday making phone calls. First, the wedding planner, Katie Rodriguez. Miss Rodriguez, this is Charlotte Davies. I'm listed as the primary contact for the Morrison Davies wedding. Oh, Charlotte. Yes, I've been meaning to reach out. We have some final details to Miss Rodriguez. I need to inform you of something. I did not authorize the use of my name or signature on any of these contracts. My son, Every Davies, forged my signature and used my financial information without my permission. Silence. Then carefully. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? The signatures on those contracts are not mine. I filed a report with my bank about fraudulent use of my accounts. I'm calling to inform you that I'm aware my name is on your contracts, and I want you to know that I am the legal contact, not my son. I see. Miss Davies, this is very unusual. What exactly are you asking me to do? Nothing right now. I'm simply establishing that I'm aware of the situation and that any changes or approvals need to come through me directly. Not through Avery, not through Tessa. Me. Understood. I'll make a note in the file. I called 5 more vendors with the same message. Each one responded with confusion and concern. Each one promised to make a note. Each one now knew that something was very wrong with the Morrison Davies wedding. Then I sat down and wrote an email to Avery. Avery, I know everything. I know you took $14,600 from my savings account without my permission. I know you forged my signature on wedding vendor contracts. I know you told the Morrison family that I abandoned you, that your father raised you, that your father is dead. I know you've been telling people I'm your late father's sister, not your mother. I know every vendor for your wedding has my name on their contracts, not yours. I've contacted my bank and frozen the joint account. I've contacted the wedding vendors and informed them that I am the legal contact on all contracts. I've spoken to a lawyer about fraud charges. You asked me not to come to your wedding. You wanted me to disappear from your life, but you forgot something important. You built your new life using my name, my money, and my identity. You can't erase me when I'm literally on every contract. You have 1 week to tell Tessa and her family the truth about everything. About who I am, about where you came from, about the money, about the lies. If you don't, I will, and I won't do it quietly. You wanted me gone, but I'm not going anywhere until everyone knows the truth. Mom. I read it 3 times, changed nothing, hit send. Then I sat back and waited. He called 17 minutes later. Mom, what the hell? You can't just... I can, and I did. You're threatening me. I'm telling you the truth. Something you seem to have forgotten how to do. I can explain everything. You've had months to explain. You chose to lie instead. I was trying to protect. Don't you dare tell me you were protecting me. You stole from me, Avery. You forged my signature. You told people I was dead. That's not protection, that's eraser. Silence. I could hear him breathing hard, panicking. What do you want? He finally asked. I want you to tell the truth. I can't just tell Marcus and Tessa that I lied about everything. The wedding is in 4 months. Everything is already planned. Then you should have thought of that before you used my money to pay for it. Mom, please don't do this. I'll pay you back. Every penny, I promise. Just don't ruin my wedding. I'm not ruining your wedding, Avery. Your lies are ruining your wedding. I'm just refusing to hold them up anymore. What if I told them after the wedding, after the honeymoon, I could sit down with Tessa and explain everything then? When things are calmer, more lies just push down the road. It's not lying, it's timing, it's cowardice. He started crying, real gut-wrenching sobs. I can't lose her mom. I love her. If she finds out I lied about all of this, she'll leave me. And if she marries you without knowing the truth, what kind of marriage will that be? I happy one. We're happy together. We work. Why can't you just let me have this because it's built on lies and lies always collapse? Eventually, I'm just giving you the chance to tell the truth on your own terms. 1 week isn't enough time. You've had 4 months. Mom, 1 week. Avery or I start calling people myself. I hung up. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But I felt clearer than I had in months. I'd given him a choice. What he did with it was up to him. For 3 days, nothing happened. No call from Avery, no email, no text, just silence. I went to work, stocked shelves at the grocery store, cleaned offices downtown, came home to my empty house, waited. June called every night. Has he called? No. What are you going to do when the week is up? I don't know yet. You could still press charges. Get your money back. Maybe. But I didn't want to press charges. I wanted my son to do the right thing. I wanted him to remember who he used to be before he decided I was someone to be ashamed of. On the 4th day, my phone rang at 10 o'clock at night. Unknown number. Hello, Ms. Davies. This is Tessa Morrison. I sat up straight. Tessa. Hi. I'm sorry to call so late. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Her voice was tight-controlled. I was wondering if we could meet for coffee tomorrow. Just the 2 of us. Of course. Is everything okay? I'd rather talk in person if that's all right. What time works for you? 10 in the morning. There's a coffee shop on Main Street, the Daily Grind. I know it. I'll be there. Thank you, Ms. Davies. She hung up before I could tell her to call me Charlotte. The Daily Grind was busy at 10 on a Tuesday morning. Young people with laptops, mothers with strollers, retired folks reading newspapers. I arrived 10 minutes early and ordered a regular coffee, $2, which was all I could afford until my next paycheck. Tessa arrived exactly at 10, dressed in designer jeans and a silk blouse. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her makeup couldn't quite hide the dark circles under her eyes. She ordered something complicated without milk and 3 shots of espresso, then sat down across from me in a corner booth. Thank you for meeting me. Of course, she wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. Avery told me everything last night. My heart started pounding. Everything. He told me that you're his mother, not his late father's sister. That you raised him alone. That his father left when he was small and is alive somewhere. She looked up at me, her eyes red. He told me he lied to my family about all of it. I see. He also told me that he used your savings to pay for our wedding without your permission, that he forged your signature on contracts. Her voice cracked. That he asked you not to come because he was ashamed of you. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. I don't know who I'm marrying, Tessa whispered. I thought I knew him. I thought he was honest and hardworking and good, but he's been lying to me since the day we met. Not about everything, I said quietly. I'm sure his feelings for you are real. How can I trust that? How can I trust anything he says now? She wiped her eyes, careful not to smudge her mascara. He told me you were threatening to ruin our wedding if he didn't tell the truth. That's not quite accurate. I told him he needed to tell the truth. What happens to the wedding after that is up to him. And you. Are you going to cancel everything? The vendors all have your name on the contracts. Every said you could destroy the whole thing if you wanted to. I could. Are you going to? I looked at this young woman who thought she was marrying someone honest, someone self-made, someone brave, who discovered she was marrying someone who could look his own mother in the eye and ask her to disappear. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. "I don't know." She started crying openly now. "I love him. Even after everything, I still love him. But I don't know if I can marry someone who would do this to his own mother. What does that say about who he is? It says he got lost. It says he forgot where he came from and what matters." I reached across the table, took her hand, but people can find their way back. If they are willing to do the work, do you believe that after everything he's done to you, he's my son? I have to believe it. I need to talk to my parents. They need to know the truth, too. Tessa pulled her hand back, grabbed an napkin to wipe her eyes. "My dad is going to be so angry. He hates liars more than anything. Your father will react however he reacts. That's not your responsibility. Avery is terrified of him. That's why he lied in the first place. He thought my dad wouldn't accept him if he knew the truth about his background. And will he? I don't know. My dad can be." She trailed off. "He's a complicated man. He values honesty and hard work, but he grew up poor. His father was a janitor. He built his company from nothing. He might actually respect Avery more for the truth than for the lies." That caught my attention. "Your father grew up poor." "Yes." He doesn't talk about it much now, but yes. He worked his way through community college cleaning buildings at night, started his company with a loan from a friend, and built it into what it is today. She laughed bitterly, which makes Avery's lies even more stupid. My dad would have understood struggle. He would have respected a mother who worked 2 jobs to raise her son alone. Instead, Avery made up this fake tragic story, and now she shook her head. "Now you have to decide if you can forgive him. How can I marry someone who would treat his own mother this way? What happens when he decides I'm an inconvenience when I don't fit the image he wants to project?" Those are questions only you can answer. We sat in silence for a moment. Around us, the coffee shop buzzed with normal life. People laughing, talking, working, nobody knowing that in this corner booth, a wedding and a family were falling apart. "I need to ask you something," Tessa said. "Why didn't you just destroy everything when you found out? Why give him a chance to tell the truth himself? Because destroying him doesn't heal me, and because I stopped trying to find the right words. Because I spent 30 years teaching him right from wrong, and I needed to know if any of those lessons stuck. If he could still choose to do the right thing even when it was hard. And did he? Is telling me the truth because you forced him to? Is that doing the right thing? It's a start." Tessa stood up, gathering her purse. "I need time to think. I need to talk to my parents. I need to figure out if I can still marry him after this." "That's wise. Miss Davies, Charlotte, please." "Charlotte." She smiled sadly. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry we met this way. I'm sorry Avery did this to you, and I'm sorry I didn't ask more questions sooner. You have nothing to apologize for." "I think I do. I saw signs that something was off, little inconsistencies in his stories, times when he'd get defensive if I asked about his family. I didn't want to see it. I was in love. I wanted to believe the version of him he was showing me. We all do that sometimes." She left, and I sat alone with my $2 coffee, wondering what would happen next. 2 days later, on a Thursday evening, someone knocked on my door. Hard. Aggressive. I opened it to find Marcus Morrison standing on my porch. He was tall, probably 6'2", with silver hair and sharp blue eyes. His suit probably cost more than my monthly salary. He looked furious. Miss Davies, we need to talk. Mr. Morrison, would you like to come in? No, I wouldn't. He stayed on the porch, and I realized he didn't want to be seen entering my modest little house. Even now, in his anger, he was worried about appearances. I want to know what the hell is going on with my daughter's wedding. I think Avery and Tessa should have explained. Oh, they explained. They explained that your son has been lying to my family for months, that he stole from you, that he pretended you were some distant aunt instead of his mother. He stepped closer. What I want to know is what you did to make him so ashamed of you that he had to lie. The words hit like a slap. Excuse me. My daughter is in tears. My wife is devastated. I have 200 guests expecting a wedding in 3 months, and I'm finding out the groom is a liar and a thief. So I'm asking you, what did you do to create this situation? I felt my spine straightened, felt something cold and strong settle into my chest. I raised him alone. After his father left us, I worked 2 jobs, minimum wage jobs, to keep a roof over his head and food on the table. I helped him with homework every night. I went to every school event. I put myself last so he could have what he needed. And when he went to college, I worked extra shifts to help pay for it because I didn't want him drowning in debt. Marcus's expression didn't change. What I did, I continued my voice steady, was love him unconditionally. What I didn't do was fit the story he wanted to tell you about himself. So he erased me. He turned me into someone more convenient, someone who wouldn't embarrass him in front of people like you. People like me. People with money. People who judge others based on what they have instead of who they are. That's not fair. Isn't it your daughter told me you grew up poor, that your father was a janitor, that you built your company from nothing? So tell me, Mr. Morrison, if someone had lied about your father, turned him into someone more palatable, more respectable, how would you feel? He flinched just slightly, but I saw it. My father was a good man, he said quietly. So am I. A good woman. I'm not rich. I'm not impressive. I don't have connections or status, but I loved my son with everything I had, and he thanked me by stealing from me and asking me to disappear. Marcus looked at me for a long moment. Some of the anger had drained from his face, replaced by something else. Shame, maybe, or recognition. Tesla wants to cancel the wedding. That's her choice. I want to know what you're going to do. You have your name on all the contracts. You could destroy everything with a phone call. I could. Are you going to? I don't know yet. What do you want money? You want me to pay you back what Avery took. I want my son to stand up and tell the truth, to stop being ashamed of where he came from. To remember that the woman he's trying to hide is the same woman who loved him when no one else did. That's not going to happen if there's no wedding. Then maybe there shouldn't be a wedding. Marcus shook his head. You're vindictive. Better. I can see why he wanted distance. No, Mr. Morrison. I'm a woman with dignity, and I'm done apologizing for existing. He turned and walked back to his car of BMW black and gleaming. He got in and drove away without looking back. I closed the door and leaned against it, my heart pounding. I just told off one of the wealthiest men in the county, defended myself to someone who thought money made him better than me, and it felt good. My phone buzzed. A text from Avery. My life is falling apart. Are you happy now? I typed back no, but I'm not the one who broke it. I didn't hear from him again that night. The week before the wedding, I made my decision. I wasn't going to cancel everything. That would be cruel, and cruelty had never been who I was. But I also wasn't going to let this wedding happen as if nothing had changed, as if the truth didn't matter. On Monday morning, I called the florist first. Rachel, this is Charlotte Davies. Charlotte, I was hoping to hear from you. We need final approval on the mountain. Rachel, I need to make some changes to the order. Oh, okay. What kind of changes? I'd like to reduce the arrangement to something much simpler. Instead of the elaborate centerpieces and ceremony flowers, I'd like just simple bouquets for the wedding party. That's it. Silence. Then carefully. Charlotte, that's a significant reduction. Are you sure the wedding is in 5 days? I'm sure. What would that cost? Will the bouquets alone would be about $1,200, but you've already paid a $2,500 deposit for the full order. You'd lose the deposit if you cancel the rest. I understand. Please make the change. Okay, I'll process this today. But Charlotte, you should know that Tessa called me yesterday asking about the flowers. She seemed to think everything was still on track. Tessa doesn't have authorization to make changes. Only I do, understood. I'll send you a confirmation email. When we hung up, my hands were shaking. But I called the bakery next. David, this is Charlotte Davies, about the Morrison Davies wedding cake. Charlotte. Yes, what can I do for you? I need to change the cake order. Instead of the 5-tier custom cake, I'd like to order a simple 2-tier cake. Basic vanilla, no gold leaf, no custom design, just a simple wedding cake. Charlotte. The wedding is in 5 days. I'm already halfway through constructing the custom cake you ordered. I didn't order that cake, David. My son did, using my name. I'm the one on the contract, and I'm making a change. Long pause. This is very unusual, I know. I apologize for the inconvenience, but I need to reduce the order. A simple 2-tier cake will cost about $400. You've already paid $1,800 as a deposit. You'll lose the difference. I understand. All right, I'll make the change. But Charlotte, I have to tell you, people are going to notice. This is a 200-person wedding. A 2-tier cake isn't going to be enough for that many guests. That's not my concern. When I hung up, I felt sick, but I kept going. I called the venue next. This one was harder. Riverside Manor, this is Jennifer speaking. Jennifer, this is Charlotte Davies. I'm calling about the Morrison Davies wedding. Oh yes, Charlotte, we're so excited for Saturday. Everything is on track for a beautiful event. I need to put a hold on the final preparations. I'm sorry, what ma'am? I'm listed as the primary contact and financial guarantee on your contract. I need to formally notify you that I'm putting a hold on all final arrangements until I provide written authorization. Miss Davies, I don't understand. The wedding is in 5 days. We have staff scheduled rentals ordered. The kitchen is planning the menu. I understand this is inconvenient, but I need to exercise my rights as the contract holder. Has there been a problem? Is this about payment because Mr. Morrison has already? This isn't about payment. This is about authorization. I'm simply notifying you that no final arrangements should be made without my direct written approval. Miss Davies, if you're planning to cancel this wedding, we need more notice than 5 days. Our cancellation policy. I'm not canceling. I'm putting things on hold. For how long, I'll let you know. I hung up before she could argue further. My heart was racing. This was real now. I was actually doing this. The call started that afternoon. First, Davy, what the hell are you doing? The florist just called Tessa, saying you reduced the flower order. The wedding is in 5 days. I'm exercising my rights as the contract holder. You're sabotaging my wedding. No, Avery, I'm simply not paying for an elaborate wedding. I'm not invited to. If you want the original flowers and cake, you and the Morrisons are welcome to pay for them yourselves directly. Without using my name or my money, we can't just change everything now. The vendors won't. Then you should have thought of that before you forged my signature and stole my savings. Mom, please, I'm begging you. Don't do this. I gave you a week to tell the truth. You told Tessa that's good. But what about Marcus? What about the 200 guests who are coming to celebrate? Are they going to hear the truth, or are you going to keep lying? I can't just stay and up at my wedding and announce that I'm a liar. Then maybe you shouldn't have a wedding. I hung up. 10 minutes later, Tessa called. Charlotte, what's happening? The vendors are calling me saying you're changing everything. The wedding is in 5 days. We can't change things now. Tessa, I'm sorry, I truly am. But I can't fund a wedding. I'm not welcome with money that was stolen from me. If your family wants to pay for the original arrangements, they can contact the vendors directly. My dad already paid the venue. He gave them $30,000 for the venue itself. But the flowers, the cake, the photography, those contracts are in my name. Those deposits came from my stolen money. I have the right to modify them. You're punishing me for what Avery did. No, sweetheart, I'm protecting myself from being used anymore. I didn't know he stole from you. I didn't know about any of it until last week. I know, and I'm sorry you're caught in the middle, but this is between me and my son. She started crying. Everyone's going to know something's wrong. Small flowers, tiny cake, everything downgraded. They're going to ask questions. Then maybe it's time they got answers. That evening, Marcus Morrison showed up at my door again. This time, he didn't wait to be invited in. He pushed past me into my living room. You've inductive woman, do you have any idea what you're doing? Yes, I do. My daughter is devastated. The wedding is in 5 days and you're destroying it piece by piece. I'm not destroying anything. I'm simply not funding it anymore with money that was stolen from me. I'll pay for the flowers, I'll pay for the cake. Just tell the vendors to restore the original orders. The contracts are in my name, Mr. Morrison. If you want to pay for new arrangements, you're welcome to order them directly, but you'll have to do it without using my identity. There's no time. The vendors can't produce new arrangements in 5 days. Then perhaps you should have made sure your future son-in-law wasn't committing fraud when he booked them. Marcus's face turned red. I could sue you for this. For intentional interference, for what? For refusing to participate in my own exploitation, for exercising my legal rights over contracts that are in my name. I stood my ground. Go ahead and sue me, Mr. Morrison. I'd love to explain to a judge how your daughter's fiancé stole $15,000 from his mother and forged her signature on contracts. I'm sure that would be great publicity for your family. He stared at me, breathing hard. Some of the fury drained from his face, replaced by something else. Calculation, maybe. What do you want? I already told you. I want the truth. Fine. Every will tell people the truth after the wedding, at the reception before the toasts. He'll make an announcement. Will that satisfy you after the wedding? After he's safely married and locked in? After 200 people have already celebrated his lies? I shook my head. No, Mr. Morrison, that's not good enough. Then what I want him to tell everyone before the ceremony. I want the guests to know the truth before they sit down to watch him make vows. Because vows about honesty and trust ring hollow when you've been lying to everyone in the room. That's insane. You're asking him to humiliate himself in front of everyone he knows. I'm asking him to be honest. There's a difference. If he does, that half the guests will leave. The wedding will be ruined. If half the guests can't handle the truth about where he came from, then maybe they shouldn't be there in the first place. Marcus pulled out his phone. I'm calling my lawyer. Go ahead. But know this, I've already spoken to legal aid. I have every right to modify contracts that are in my name, especially when my signature was forged. You have no legal standing here. He lowered the phone, stared at me with something between hatred and grudging respect. You're really going to do this? You're really going to destroy your son's wedding? I'm really going to stop participating in his lies. What happens to the wedding after that is up to him. Marcus turned and walked toward the door, stopped, turned back. My father was a janitor, he said quietly. You were right about that. And for years, I was ashamed of it. I didn't tell people. I made up vague stories about my family. I erased him because I thought it made me look better. What changed? He died. And at his funeral, all these people showed up. People from the buildings he'd claimed. They told me stories about how kind he was, how he'd help them when they locked themselves out of their offices, how he'd remember their names and ask about their families, how he'd work double shifts to cover for someone who was sick. Marcus's voice cracked, and I realized I'd wasted years being ashamed of the best man I'd ever known. I'm sorry for your loss. I don't want Every to make the same mistake I did, but I also don't want him publicly destroyed. Then help him find a way to tell the truth with dignity. That's all I'm asking. Marcus left without another word. Saturday morning dawned clear and beautiful. October 26th. Perfect weather for a wedding. I woke up at 6 and sat in my kitchen drinking coffee, staring at my phone. No calls, no texts. No word about whether Avery had decided to tell the truth or let the disaster unfold. At 8, June called. Are you going? I don't know. Charlotte, if you're going to go, you need to decide now. You need to get ready. He doesn't want me there. Screw what he wants. Do you want to be there? Did I want to watch my son marry someone while 200 people whispered about the reduced flowers and tiny cake? Did I want to see him stand at that altar still wrapped in his lies? Or did I want to be there to witness what happened when the truth finally came out? I think I do, I said quietly. Then get dressed. I'm coming to pick you up. June, you don't have to. I'm your sister. If you're going to walk into that mess, you're not doing it alone. I'll be there in an hour. She hung up before I could argue. I went to my closet and pulled out the navy blue dress, the one I'd bought months ago for a wedding I'd been uninvited from. It still had the tags on it. I got dressed slowly, did my makeup carefully, put on the shoes that hurt my feet but looked nice, looked at myself in the mirror. I looked like someone's mother, someone's aging or narrow mother who worked 2 jobs and couldn't afford designer clothes. And I looked dignified. June arrived at 9:30 in a burgundy dress with a fierce expression. You look beautiful. She said I looked terrified. That too. Come on. We drove to Riverside Manor in June's car. Neither of us spoke much. What was there to say? The parking lot was already filling with expensive cars. BMWs, Mercedes, Teslas. June's 10-year-old Honda looked out of place like I felt out of place. But we parked and got out anyway. The manor was even more beautiful than in the photos. White columns, manicured gardens, a massive tent set up on the lawn for the reception. People in elegant clothes milling around, champagne glasses in hand, even though it was only 10:30 in the morning. No one noticed us at first. We were just 2 more middle-aged women in a sea of wedding guests. We walked toward the entrance, and that's when I saw them. The flowers. Rachel had followed my instructions. There were simple bouquets for the wedding party, nothing more. No elaborate arrangements flanking the entrance, no cascading florals on the columns, just emptiness where there should have been beauty. People were noticing. I heard whispers as we passed. Where are the flowers? This seems sparse for a Morrison wedding. Do you think something happened? Inside was worse. The grand ballroom was set up for the reception, and I could see the cake table at the far end. The two tear-simple cakes sat alone, looking tiny and inadequate in the space meant for something spectacular. Oh, my June breath beside me. A woman in an elegant pantsuit approached us. The wedding planner, I realized. Katie Rodriguez. Excuse me, may I see your invitation? I didn't have one. I'd never received one. I'm Charlotte Davies, I said. Avery's mother. Her eyes widened. Miss Davies. We didn't know you were coming. You're not on the seating chart. I know, I'm not officially invited, but I thought I should be here anyway. Katie looked around nervously. Perhaps you should wait in the anti-room until we can figure out where to seat you. I'll stand in the back. I don't need to seat. Miss Davies, it's fine. Really. Katie hurried away, presumably to tell someone I'd arrived. June and I moved toward the garden where the ceremony would be held. Rows of white chairs faced an arch covered in. I looked closer the simple flowers I'd ordered. The arch that was supposed to be dripping with roses and orchids now had just a few scattered bouquets. It looked sad, unfinished, wrong. I felt a twinge of guilt. Then I remembered I didn't create this situation. I just stopped enabling it. People were starting to take their seats. I saw Marcus Morrison near the front talking tensely with a group of men in expensive suits. Saw Tessa's mother elegant in a champagne-colored dress, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. And then I saw Avery. He was standing to the side with his best man wearing a tuxedo that probably caused more than my monthly rent. He looked pale, scared. He saw me and froze. Our eyes met across the garden. For a moment, everything else fell away. My son, my boy, looking at me like I was a stranger, like I was the enemy. Marcus saw me next. He walked over quickly. Charlotte, you came. I did. Did Avery. He didn't finish the question. I haven't spoken to him since Tuesday. Marcus nodded slowly. I talked to him last night. Told him what you said. About telling the truth with dignity. He paused. He's going to do it. My heart started pounding. When before the ceremony, he's going to address the guests before Tessa comes down the aisle. And she knows. She knows. She's not happy about it. But she knows. The string quartet began playing. People settled into their seats. Marcus moved toward the front to take his place. June gripped my hand. You okay? No. Me neither. But we're staying. The music changed. The processional was about to begin. But then Avery stepped forward, moving to the front of the crowd. He wasn't at the altar yet. He was standing in front of everyone, microphone in hand. The music stopped. People looked confused. Before we start, Avery said, his voice shaking, I need to say something. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. This wasn't part of the plan. Most of you know me as someone who built himself up from a difficult past. Someone who overcame tragedy to get here today. He took a shaky breath. That story is a lie. Gasps, whispers, confused looks. The truth is, my mother is alive. She's here today. She's standing in the back. He looked directly at me. Her name is Charlotte Davies, and she raised me alone after my father left when I was 5 years old. I felt 200 pairs of eyes turn toward me. June squeezed my hand tighter. My father didn't die. He didn't raise me. My mother did. She worked 2 jobs, minimum wage jobs, to keep us fed and housed. She helped me with homework every night. She saved money to help pay for my college. She loved me unconditionally. Tears were streaming down his face now, and I repaid her by being ashamed of her, by telling you all lies about where I came from, by telling the Morrison family that she wasn't in my life, that she was unstable, that she was, he stopped, his voice breaking, by telling them she wasn't worth including in the most important day of my life. The silence was deafening. Worse than that, I stole from her. I forged her signature on wedding contracts. I used her savings, $15,000 she'd spent 20 years accumulating to pay for this wedding. The wedding I then uninvited her from. Someone in the audience gasped audibly. I saw Marcus's face go rigid. The reason the flowers are different today, the reason the cake is smaller. That's because my mother refused to keep funding a wedding she wasn't welcome at. And she had every right to do that. Every legal right. Every moral right. Every walk down the aisle toward me. People moved aside, staring. He stopped in front of me. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was ashamed of the wrong things. I was ashamed of being poor, of having a mother who cleaned offices for a living, of not fitting into this world. He gestured around at the manor, the wealthy guests. But I should have been ashamed of myself for lying, for stealing, for trying to erase the person who loved me most. I couldn't speak. Tears were blurring my vision. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know that, but I'm asking for it anyway. And I'm asking you to stay, to be here, to be part of this day, if there's still gonna be a day. He glanced back toward the altar where Tessa should have been. Because none of this means anything if it's built on lies. The silence stretched out. Everyone waiting for me to respond. I looked at my son, really looked at him, and saw the little boy who used to hold my hand, who used to tell me he loved me, who used to be proud that I was his mother. You hurt me, I said quietly, deeper than I thought possible. I know. You stole from me. You lied about me. You asked me to disappear. I know. And now you're asking me to forgive you in front of 200 people. I know it's not fair. I know I don't deserve. You don't. I took a breath. But I'm going to forgive you anyway, because that's what mothers do. We forgive even when it hurts, even when we shouldn't. He started sobbing, actually sobbing like a child. But hear me clearly. I will never let you treat me this way again. I will never hide who I am to make you comfortable. I will never shrink myself to fit someone else's story. And if you ever lie about me again, I'm done. Do you understand? Yes. Yes, I understand. I pulled him into a hug. He clung to me like he used to when he was small, and I let him. Because he was still my son, even when he was terrible at it. When we pulled apart, I looked toward the back of the garden where the bridal party was supposed to enter. Tessa stood there in her wedding dress watching us. Her face was pale makeup streaked with tears. Everyone turned to look at her, waiting. She took a step forward, then stopped. I can't, she said, her voice carrying across the silent garden. I'm sorry, I can't do this. Tessa walked down the aisle, but not toward Avery, toward her father. Dad, I need to talk to you privately. Now Marcus looked between his daughter and the assembled guests. Tessa, honey, everyone's here. We can talk after now. They disappeared into the manor. Avery stood frozen at the altar, looking lost. The guests began murmuring. Some people stood up. Others checked their phones. The wedding planner rushed around trying to maintain order. June leaned close to me. What do you think is happening? I think she's making a choice. We waited. 10 minutes. 15. The murmuring grew louder. Some guests started drifting toward the parking lot. Then Tessa and Marcus emerged. Tessa's eyes were red, but her jaw was set, determined. She walked to the front of the garden and took the microphone from where Avery had left it. Thank you all for coming today, she said, her voice steady despite the tears. I know this has been unconventional. Nervous laughter from some guests. What Avery said is true. He lied to me, to my family, to all of you. He lied about where he came from, who raised him, and what kind of person he was. She looked at Avery. And I believed those lies because I wanted to, because they fit the story I wanted our relationship to be. Avery stepped toward her. Tessa. She held up a hand. Let me finish, please. He stopped. When I found out the truth last week, I wanted to cancel the wedding immediately. How could I marry someone who would treat his own mother this way, who would steal from her, and then ask her to disappear? She wiped her eyes. But my father told me something. He told me about being ashamed of his own father, about the years he wasted hiding where he came from. Marcus was watching his daughter with tears in his eyes, and he said that people can change. That shame makes us do terrible things, but recognizing that shame, facing it, that's the first step to becoming better. Tessa turned to face Avery fully. What you did was unforgivable, but you just stood in front of everyone you know and told the truth. You humiliated yourself. You risked everything, not because your mother forced you to, but because it was right. I should have done it months ago, Avery said. Yes, you should have, but you did it now, and that counts for something. She looked at me. Charlotte, I owe you an apology, too. I should have insisted on meeting you properly. I should have asked more questions. I let Avery's lies stand because it was easier than challenging them. You didn't know I said, but I should have. She turned back to the crowd. So here's what's going to happen. There's not going to be a wedding today. Gasps, shocked murmurs. But there is going to be a party because you all came here, many of you traveled far, and we have food and music and a beautiful space. So please stay. Eat, drink, celebrate something. I'm not sure what yet, but something. She looked at Avery. And you and I are going to take some time. We're going to go to counseling. You're going to pay Charlotte back every penny you stole with interest. You're going to rebuild your relationship with your mother properly. And if after all of that, we still want to marry each other, we'll do it right. Small ceremony, honest vows, no lies. What if I can't do all that? Avery asked quietly. Then we won't get married because I won't marry someone who hasn't learned to value the people who loved him first. She handed the microphone back to the wedding planner and walked off toward the manor. The crowd erupted into chaos. People talking, some crying, some laughing in disbelief. Marcus approached me. Miss Davies, Charlotte, I owe you an apology. You owe me nothing. I do. I judged you before I knew you. I assumed your son's lies were based in some truth that you must have done something to deserve his shame. He shook his head. I was wrong. You did nothing wrong. You loved your child. There's no shame in that. Thank you. Will you stay for the party? It would mean a lot to Tessa and to me. I looked at June. She shrugged. We came all this way. Might as well eat some fancy food. Okay, I told Marcus. We'll stay. The non-wedding party was surreal. People who'd come expecting a ceremony instead found themselves at what one guest called the most honest event I've ever attended. Some people left immediately scandalized or uncomfortable, but many stayed. They ate the catered food, drank the expensive wine, and talked about what they'd just witnessed. I found myself surrounded by people wanting to meet me to tell me they admired my strength, to say they were sorry for what I'd been through. An older woman with kind eyes shook my hand. I raised my son alone too, worked 3 jobs. He's a doctor now, and sometimes I think he forgets where he came from. Your courage today reminded me that we don't have to accept being erased. A younger woman, maybe 30, hugged me. My mom cleaned houses. She died 5 years ago and I never told her how proud I was of her. Thank you for standing up for not disappearing. Avery stood off to the side, accepting his own wave of reactions. Some people avoided him. Some shook his hand and said they respected his honesty. A few older men pulled him aside for what looked like serious conversations. June and I sat at a table with plates of food we hadn't paid for, watching the chaos unfold. "This is the weirdest wedding I've ever been to." June said it's not a wedding. That's what makes it weird. Around 6 o'clock, as the sun started to set, Tessa found me. She'd changed out of her wedding dress into a simple blue dress. "Charlotte, can we talk?" "Of course." We walked to a quiet corner of the garden away from the remaining guests. "I wanted to thank you," Tessa said, "for not destroying everything. You could have. You had every right to. I didn't want to destroy anything. I just wanted the truth. You got it, in the most dramatic way possible." She smiled sadly. "I really do love him, even after everything." "I know. Do you think I'm stupid for giving him another chance? I think you're brave and honest and willing to do the hard work of building something real." I took her hand. "My son is lucky. I hope he realizes that. He will. I'll make sure of it." She paused. "Will you let me get to know you, the real you, not the version Avery created, but the actual person? I'd like that." "Good. Because if we're going to eventually be family, I want to know my mother-in-law properly." Avery appeared hesitant. "Is it okay if I join you?" Tessa looked at me. I nodded. He sat down, looking exhausted. "I talked to a lawyer about paying you back. With the theft charges possible, I need to make full restitution plus damages." He suggested $18,000 total. "I'm going to set up a payment plan, $500 a month, until it's paid off." "Okay, and I'm starting therapy next week." Tessa gave me the number of someone who specializes in shame and family dynamics. "That's good. And He stopped struggling with words. "I want to have Sunday dinners again at your place, like we used to, if you let me." I looked at my son, my grown son who'd finally remembered how to tell the truth. "One Sunday a month," I said, "we'll start there. See how it goes." "Okay, thank you." "Okay." We sat in silence as the sun set over the garden where a wedding hadn't happened, where the truth had happened instead. It wasn't the ending I'd imagined, but it was honest. And maybe that was better. The kitchen in my house smelled like pot roast and rosemary. I'd spent the afternoon cooking, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Because Sunday dinners had become regular again, and tonight was special. The doorbell rang at 6. I opened it to find Avery and Tessa both smiling. "Hi, Mom." "Hi, sweetheart. Come in." They'd gotten married 3 months ago. Small ceremony at the courthouse, just family. Marcus and his wife June and her husband me. Then dinner at a nice restaurant. Simple, honest, perfect. Tessa hugged me. "Something smells amazing. Just pot roast, nothing fancy. It's perfect." We ate dinner at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd once sat alone, wondering when I'd become someone my son was ashamed of. Now it was crowded with food and conversation and laughter. Avery had paid back the full $18,000. It had taken him a year of extra shifts and careful budgeting, but he'd done it. The money sat in my savings account rebuilt. But more than that, he'd rebuilt trust, slowly. One Sunday dinner at a time, one honest conversation at a time, one moment of not being ashamed at a time. "Mom, we have news," Avery said after dinner. I looked between them. Tessa was glowing. "We're pregnant." Joy flooded through me. Oh, that's wonderful." 3 months along, Tessa said we wanted to wait until we were sure before we told anyone. "I'm going to be a grandmother." "Yes, and Mom, we were hoping." Avery looked nervous. "We were hoping you'd want to be really involved. Like we want you to babysit, to be there for birthdays, to be a real presence in the baby's life." "Of course I do. And we want the baby to know the truth, all of it, about where I came from, about how you raised me, about the mistakes I made. He took my hand. I want my child to know who their grandmother really is. No lies, no edited versions. The real you. Tears filled my eyes. I'd like that. We talked about names and nursery colors and all the normal things expecting parents talk about. And I felt something settle in my chest. Something that had been broken finally healing. After they left, I cleaned up the kitchen and sat in my quiet house. The same house where I'd raised my son. The same house he'd once been ashamed of. The same house that was now filling with new memories. Better ones. My phone buzzed. A text from Avery. Thank you for never giving up on me. Even when I gave up on myself. I love you, Mom, I texted back. I love you too, sweetheart. Always. I looked around my small, modest home. At the photos on the walls, at the worn furniture in the kitchen that had seen 30 years of meals, at the life I'd built with minimum wage and maximum love. And I realized something I'd never needed to be anyone other than who I was. The shame had never been mine to carry. I was Charlotte Davies. I'd worked 2 jobs to raise my son. I'd sacrificed and struggled and loved without conditions. And now, finally, my son saw that for what it was, not something to hide, but something to honor. The wedding I never attended had taught us all something important. That truth matters more than appearances. That dignity is something you claim, not something others give you. That real love, the kind that lasts, can only be built on honest ground. I still worked at the grocery store, still cleaned offices at night, still lived in my small house in my modest neighborhood. But I walked different now, like someone who knew her worth. And when my son introduced me to people, he did it with his head up and his voice clear. This is my mother, Charlotte Davies. That was all I'd ever wanted. Not a fancy wedding, not expensive gifts. Just the simple truth I was here. I'd always been here. And I wasn't disappearing for anyone, not even for love.